is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Ravi Thapa, High Commissioner of India to New Zealand, to address the graduands. Mr. Thapa is a career diplomat who joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1983. During the last 30 years, he has rendered diplomatic duties at Cairo, Riyadh, San Francisco, Paramaribo and Milan. He's also handled several key assignments in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi. Prior to his arrival in Wellington, Mr. Thapa represented India as the Ambassador of India in Beirut, Lebanon. Mr. Thapa holds an honours degree in economics and a Bachelor of Laws from Punjab University in India. He completed his postgraduate studies in law at the University of California in Berkeley. After arriving in Wellington, Mr. Thapa has been actively pursuing possibilities of strengthening engagement between India and New Zealand, especially in the economic and commercial sector. Given India's burgeoning economy, massive market and major infrastructural requirements, there is much which New Zealand could offer to India in niche areas such as cold storage supply chain management and post-harvest technologies. He believes that Indian engineers, scientists and high-tech professionals could also work with their New Zealand counterparts for creating innovative solutions and technologies which could be commercialised in India and other countries. In a world overwhelmed by conflict and terrorism, the Indian principles of non-violence, universal peace, harmony and spirituality also hold a special significance. Mr. Thapa proposes to actively raise awareness about all such possibilities and objectives through the New Zealand-India Friendship Association, which is being set up under the patronage of the Indian High Commission in Wellington. Mr. Thapa.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Distinguished Chancellor of the Massey University, distinguished Pro-Chancellor, members of the University Council, Vice-Chancellor of the Massey University, officers and staff of the university, all the graduates, their families and friends, and very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me commence my commencement address today by conveying heartiest congratulations and felicitations to all the graduates at their most wonderful achievement. All of you have traversed an important milestone in your personal and professional lives. Along with you, of course, are all the near and dear ones, parents, relatives, friends and well-wishers who deserve to be commended for their unflinching support and commitment to your endeavors. That there are various professionals assembled here today from fields as diverse as creative arts, health, professional and continuing education makes this ceremony all the more unique and a rare privilege and honor for me. I dare say that in today's world, everyone's permitted to have a viewpoint, and I am using my right as an independent citizen to convey the viewpoint and worldview of a diplomat. I believe there could be various interpretations and approaches, but I hope that some of the points which I make will be of interest to this very august audience. As I sit back and reflect over the times which the world has traversed since 1979, when I completed my undergrad studies from a college in India, I feel very satisfied and heartened. All of us have come a long way. Knowledge is no longer confined to expensive and large volumes of books tucked away in some distant libraries. Instead, boundless wisdom and information are instantly available on electronic media. Detailed and comprehensive information and even blogs containing reviews and comments on any product or service are just a smartphone away. Anybody who is capable, and even with modest means, can reach out to the entire international community through their YouTube or Facebook page. Many highly rated universities are beginning to develop online content and lessons. Partly, this is to save on resources and infrastructure, but largely it is because it makes them more popular and accessible. The realm of knowledge has therefore not only become seamless, it has also extended into the public domain. This is a tremendous stride from the years when students had to struggle both physically and financially in order to acquire any formal educational qualification. Besides enabling wide-scale dissemination of information, digital communications also help in overcoming the geographical divide. Gone are the days when you had to wait patiently for telephone calls to be put through an operator and a telephone exchange. Instead, we are in constant and real-time contact with all our friends all over the world through applications such as WhatsApp, Viber, Skype, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, the good old SMS. The question of loneliness, even in the most distant and remote destinations, does not arise. Depending on the speed of data transmission, which keeps growing by leaps and bounds, smart cars, smart houses and offices, smart banking, smart shopping, smart usage of utilities, smart and tele-based medical treatment, cloud-based data storage facilities, and even cloud-based accounting software, which a New Zealand IT company has developed, could increasingly facilitate our future lives. On a similar note, impressive advances are being made every day in biotechnology, nanotechnology, pharmaceuticals and immunization, and other such disciplines. Medicine, while becoming more and more complex, has also become more predictable and successful in its remedies. Computer-aided designing offers a variety of reliable choices in manufacturing of products. Very recently, of course, we seem to have entered into an era when manufacturing of products will also be possible at home through 3D printing. There is much, therefore, that we seniors have reason to be proud of. Undeniably, we are leaving behind a rich legacy for our successors. However, as we have ascended to higher levels of skill and competence, there have also been some compromises. Based on the various resources and facilities which are now open for you, our succeeding generations, it is our expectation that you will address all problems with clarity, wisdom, and confidence. Let me therefore raise some issues which you, as the incoming torch-bearers, might have to deal with at some point of your lives. The most complex, of course, are the developments pertaining to international peace and security. With all our wise planning, multilateral deliberations, and negotiations with different groups and blocks of countries, there are some very troublesome hotspots which continue to be on the boil. Syria, the Middle East crisis, Afghanistan, recent events in East Europe, kidnappings and other human rights violations in other parts of the world. These are some issues which prevail today. The scourge of terrorism, often state-sponsored, also continues to threaten innocent lives. There is widespread recognition of the need to curb weapons of mass destruction. However, many countries still continue to aggressively pursue aspirations for acquiring nuclear and other similar capabilities. What an irony! In order to pursue and ensure peace, we need to acquire more weapons and more armaments. Military power, rather than the cultural, moral, and spiritual achievements of a society, are now the touchstone for measuring the greatness of a nation. In recognition of these trends, Some countries, including India, are strongly pressing for changes and reforms to be undertaken within the United Nations system. Here it would not be out of place to mention that just as it has become important for the world to review financial and economic matters from the perspective of the G20 rather than the G8, it is perhaps time overdue when the deliberations of the UN Security Council must now proceed within an expanded and reformed and a more democratic and representative body rather than being limited to the preferences of the P5 powers. Similarly, the power of digital communications is reassuring and comforting. However, it can also be intrusive and violate our privacy, especially when the GPS eyes are turned on. Communities in different countries and in real time through cable TV, smartphones, and the internet identify themselves with like-minded groups of people in other countries. What we do and think in our respective countries can also impact on the thinking and future of people in other countries. It would be pertinent to recall here that it was this power of the social media and the internet which triggered off social and political transformations in the Arab Spring countries a few years ago. Some countries, therefore, perceive such digital communications as being a challenge to their domestic and sovereign processes. Again, knowledge in the public domain is more democratic. However, it also implies that your neighbor is more and better informed than you. Rather than just local, regional, or national standards, the evaluative benchmarks and standards today are international in their outreach and content. The world today is much more aware than earlier times. It is not surprising, therefore, that jobs and employment opportunities should become extremely demanding and competitive. In order to optimize quality and reduce costs, multinationals often resort to hiring of foreign workers with proven expertise in special areas. Understandably, such practices can adversely affect the employment prospects of local workers with lesser skills. With the advent of e-commerce, the traditional model of doing business, acquiring knowledge, or assessing social and political developments is also undergoing rapid changes. Rather than conventional pressure groups and communities, Facebook communities now also influence the outcome of various marketing and commercial exercises and even political debates. Being good is not good enough. It is excellence, and excellence only at an international scale, which has now become the benchmark. For the ordinary consumer, therefore, all this flush of variety, technology, and competitive prices is a windfall. But for the traditional small and medium-scale enterprises and businesses, it is time for serious review and remodeling, as they are not programmed for matching the economic and technological might of global multinationals. I have highlighted only some of the issues which we face today with the world becoming more and more global and internationalized. There are others, such as the vagaries of the international financial market, online trading scams, relevance of electronic currency such as bitcoins, hacking of bank accounts, climate change, major depletion of natural resources, including fresh water supplies in some countries, food security, energy security, natural calamities, earthquakes and tsunamis, virulent and infectious diseases, which are some of the other aspects which will need careful attention by you, our succeeding generations. You might, of course, ask as to how these issues pertain to you. You all have your respective careers to pursue. Why should one bother about these developments? Well, as we discussed, and as I have been saying, we now live in a predominantly globalized society. Even if one is in distant New Zealand, these seemingly abstract issues could snowball and at some point start affecting your lives. As a recent study by the applied mathematician Dr. Safa Motesharai of the US National Science Foundation based on a human and natural dynamical handy model reports. This report is about the ending of the human civilization, and you can Google it. It says that our global industrial civilization could actually collapse in the coming decades due to unsustainable resource exploitation and unequal wealth distribution. And in his study, he mentions about key factors which might determine this collapse. And they are population, climate, water, agriculture, and, of course, energy. According to Massey, the elites in a society consume too much, resulting in deprivation among the commoners. And this eventually leads to the collapse of a society. Well, I'm not going to go into the merits of capitalism versus socialism, but it must be conceded that even though the study is essentially theoretical and has not been supported with empirical evidence, it's not possible, the point nevertheless is well taken. Presuming that these problems do prevail and ultimately also impact on us, what therefore is the solution? Unfortunately, there is no easy and quick one. However, some basic aspects which we seniors seem to have missed out on could possibly be considered by you who are taking over. If we do analyze carefully, we would discover that all of us seem to be on a big, wild race for acquiring more power, more distinction, more brand, more presence. These aspirations are not just limited to political leaders and statesmen, but they are equally rampant and prevalent among businessmen, professionals, multinationals, and other stakeholders and entities. There seems to be no limit to which these instincts can be pursued. On the other hand, at every step of history, nature has intervened to prove that all that we may do or achieve is finite in its lifespan. Is there therefore any point in letting insatiable appetites for economic, political, and other kinds of supremacy overwhelm us? As I mentioned earlier, in a very globalized world, the smallest of nations and human assemblies expect all rights to be granted to them. Having evolved to this stage of civilization, it is only necessary that we should learn to become more tolerant of the needs and requirements of other people, irrespective of which community or nation they might belong to. The ability to coexist and respect others, which seems to have got blunted off in recent years, will need to be revived. Given the major facilities which automation and the digital revolution has engineered for us, human beings are in far better control of their lives. This should, in the normal course, make us feel more relaxed, confident and assured of our destinies. But somehow, despite all our progress in the physical sciences, contentment and happiness still seem somewhat distant and elusive. With all our comforts and facilities, we continue to be overcome by stress, competition, anxiety about our future, and other such considerations. As the world becomes more informed, educated, and competitive, these stress levels are bound to get further aggravated. A little focus on such aspects would therefore be also relevant. To begin with, I feel that we must all be ready to hit the pause button every now and then. In a highly competitive world, the pressures of high performance and our personal ambitions are understandable. Emails and smartphones are useful, but they can also be addictive. Rather than losing ourselves in the virtual world, it would do a lot of good if we could simply detach ourselves from our compelling routines and immerse ourselves, for some time at least, in our respective hobbies and creative pursuits. Be they painting, music, writing, photography, gardening, etc. Again, as life can be miserable without good health, some form of sports, yoga, or introspective meditation would be of immense physical benefit and also help in sublimating our positive energies and calming our minds' innermost processes. Some of you, of course, might find better solace in charity, voluntary work, NGO activities, etc. At the end of the day, all of us have one principal goal in life: to maximize and sustain our moments of happiness. However, happiness is an internal act of consciousness. It's not for sale in a designer store or supermarket or at a luxury resort. Until date, all of us have been struggling and perhaps are still struggling only to give ourselves more happiness. Well, what about icons like Mother Teresa, who dedicated her entire life and existence to serving others and making others happy? Graduating from the university is a very proud and significant occasion. Now that we have proved ourselves by acquiring better academic and professional qualifications, perhaps we could also train ourselves to be a little more sensitive to the needs and aspirations of those who are deprived and not as fortunate as us. Allow me, therefore, here to refer to the deeper meaning of democracy as defined by Mahatma Gandhi, who said, and I quote, "Democracy must, in a sense, therefore, mean the art and science of mobilizing the entire physical, economic, and spiritual resources of all the various sections of the people in the service of the common good of all." Similarly, commenting on power, Mahatma Gandhi said, "Power is of two kinds. One is obtained by the fear of punishment, and the other by acts of love. Power based on love is 1,000 times more effective and permanent than the one derived from fear of punishment." My dear young friends, as you step out into the big, wide world out there, all the heady excitement, joys, and challenges of life await you. We trust that you will make the right choices. We hand over the baton to you with full confidence and faith that you will do us proud and take humanity to even higher thresholds. Once again, congratulations and all the very best in your future endeavors and initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that